June 27th, 2024 meeting of the Parker Planning Commission to order at 7 p.m. Would you please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. Absent is, I have to get my list here. It's a long list. No, I can't find it. Absent is Nick. Ruth Ann, seated for Ruth Ann is Eric, Jane, and Angela. All other members present. All right, next item. Are there any additions or deletions from the agenda?
No, sir, there are not.
Okay. Approval of minutes. We have the minutes from the May 23rd, 2024 meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to that from the group? Or do we have a motion?
I move to approve the Planning Commission meeting minutes from 5/23/2024.
I'll second.
Been moved by Eric, seconded by Ileana, that we approve the minutes from May 23rd, 2024. I'll call the question. Ileana?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Eric R.?
Aye.
Ileana? Oh, no, I did that. Leland, I'm sorry.
Aye.
And chair is aye. It passes unanimously. All right. Next item. Public hearings. 7A is Parker Homestead Filing 1, Amendment to Use by Special Review Drive-Through. And we will open the public hearing at 7:02. Julia?
Good evening, Chairman, Commissioners. Thank you for having us this evening. This is the Parker Homestead Drive-Through Use by Special Review application. The subject property, highlighted in blue, is located southwest of the intersection of Chambers Road and Double Angel Road. The property is bounded on the north by Chambers, to the east by Double Angel and the Echo Stadium football field, to the south by residential and vacant commercial, and to the west by vacant commercial land. The applicant is requesting a use by special review to construct a drive-through associated with the proposed 17,000 square foot multi-tenant commercial building. The building will serve a number of end users that will benefit the surrounding community. The site plan for the building is currently under review and will be approved administratively. The drive-through is located on the southwest side of the building, hidden from Chambers Road and limiting any negative visual impacts from the main thoroughfare. The drive-through will be screened by the proposed streetscape on both sides of the private drive immediately to the south of the property, Desha Drive. The future construction of the additional commercial buildings on lots 3 and 4 to the south will also screen the drive-through from view. A daycare has already been approved for lot 4. The applicant has submitted a drive-through queuing analysis and traffic study as part of the site plan for the proposed multi-tenant commercial building. The drive-through will meet all queuing requirements listed in the Town Land Development Ordinance as approved through the site plan process. In 2011, the property was zoned Parker Homestead Plan Development, which is composed of 5 planning areas. The proposed drive-through is located within Planning Area 1, Mixed-Use Neighborhood Center, which allows for commercial, service, and office uses with a drive-through as a use by special review. The property is located within a neighborhood center in the Main Street Master Plan, character area of the Parker 2035 Master Plan. Neighborhood centers allow for commercial uses and are planned to serve the basic needs of the surrounding residents. The multi-tenant building and associated drive-through component are classified as commercial uses, which are consistent with the General Land Use Plan, Neighborhood Center recommendations in Chapter 6 of the Parker 2035 Master Plan. There are 9 criteria used to evaluate a use by special review. These criteria ensure that the use will be compatible with the character of the surrounding areas and neighborhoods. The proposal is consistent with the master plan, and adequate services exist to serve the proposed site. The impacts created by the proposed single-lane drive-through will be mitigated through its location on the back of the building, screening it from view of the main thoroughfare, Chambers Road. The drive-through will additionally be screened from view and any negative impacts for the residents to the southwest, such as headlights and noise, through landscaping on Desha Drive and the future commercial developments on Parker Homestead Lots 3 and 4 to the south of the site. After evaluating the proposal and criteria, staff has determined that the proposal meets the 9 approval criteria set forth in the LDO. The project is consistent with the master plan, and all referral agency comments have been satisfied. Staff recommends that Town Council approve the Parker Homestead use by special review to allow for a drive-through. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is here with a brief presentation.
Okay. Questions for Julia? No?
Julia, where is, for garbage, where is that going to be located on that site plan?
So I'm actually not the project planner assigned. I'm representing my colleague tonight for her presentation. The site plan is a separate application, and I know it's gone through a number of reviews. I think it's on the 4th or 5th referral process, and they've been really diligent in working with us in addressing a number of issues. I'm sure the applicant can speak to the location of that on the site.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Does the applicant want to step forward to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, please?
So good evening, Commissioner and Chairman. This is my first presentation here, so pardon me if I make any mistakes with my presentation, okay? All right, so thank you so much for taking time and listening to this, right? We appreciate your time. My name is Rama Kalagara. I'm actually representing the Tejas Ventures Inc. And today I have Dharma Parasu as well as GV, who is accompanying me, right? We are here to actually present the high-level details of the Parker Homestead retail space, a new development retail space, which we're trying to enhance the local community and also basically trying to serve the growing needs of Parker residents, right? This is actually located right in the intersection of Chambers and Double Angel. And the fundamental thought process around selecting this specific site is we have done thorough analysis, and we wanted to basically bring in the right retail businesses into this space, which will have a blend of residential area as well as combined with a commercial space with the right composition of businesses into this specific location, which will basically serve the consumer service needs. That is the primary intent of basically having this project taken up. But at the same time, besides the consumer service needs that we are bringing into the community, to the Parker community, it is going to be a value add to the overall broader Parker community itself, right? So that's the overall intent. And to start with the introduction, like I said, we represent Tejas Ventures, Inc. This is an S corporation and a Colorado-based company. The founders of this specific S corp are 6 individuals with very extensive retail experience. We own some gas stations and convenience stores in Parker as well as in Aurora. We had extensive experience in constructing these retail locations right from the scratch, as well as not just building it, but also operating it in the right way. And in terms of the ownership, we're talking about this specific company, Tejas Ventures Inc., is co-owned by Mitra Investments and Holdings and a group of investors. So Mitra Investment and Holdings is the entity which is basically owned by the 6 individuals. Out of the 6 individuals, we are 3 here, me, Dharma, and GV. And the rest of them are also basically actively engaged into this business. And we have very comprehensive point of view on how to strategize businesses. We have very comprehensive point of view on how to basically create retail businesses as well as gas stations and convenience stores, which we are operating as we speak today, within Parker as well as in Aurora. So combinedly, we are bringing in about 70 combined years of experience together, all 6 of us, and we are basically operating that today or basically we are running these businesses using all of that experience. And when it comes to the project, as Julia mentioned, right, so this specific lot is of about 8.14 acres, and it is subdivided into 4 different lots: Lot 1, Lot 2, Lot 3, and Lot 4. And we also have an additional half-acre land, which is in the gulch, which is primarily designated for drainage, utilities, and landscape uses. But the grading plans indicates that Lot 1, Lot 2, and Lot 3 are entirely developable, whereas for the Lot 4, there is a drainage pond in between, and fundamentally that is basically will reduce the developable area in this specific lot. And also one more additional point that we wanted to bring in is Lot 2 overhead. There is overhead power lines running across this Lot 2, but the easement does not appear to be impacting the developable area in this specific lot. So that's about the lot details. But moving on to the site plan, this is the site plan that we have. And it's a multi-tenant commercial building, totaling of spaces 17,025 square feet. It is basically facing the South Chambers Road. The proposal aligns with the Parker 2035 master plan for a neighborhood commercial center at this specific location, and we comply with that specific need. And it also basically the site plan basically includes a drive-through lane, which is 310 foot long, to support the need of a national coffee house, which is going to be one of the end caps in this specific retail space. We are basically strategizing in such a way that this specific 17,025 square feet retail building is going to have 7 retail spaces anywhere ranging from 1,800 to 3,500 square feet. And it comprises of 75 parking spots. And it also basically have the adequate lining sufficing the town of Parker requirements. So that's how this site plan is at a very high level. And moving on to the next slide here, we have the building elevations and renderings. This is mostly the latest version of the building renderings that we got. And the possible usages that we are planning on to basically embark some of the potential tenancies is the brewery tap room, and we want to have a high turnover restaurant, a hair salon, a coffee shop, nails, a dental office, wine and liquor shop, and a fast food casual center, right? These are some of the possible usages that we are envisioning to basically bring into this specific retail space. Moving on to the next slide here, as I said in the beginning, right, we are talking about creating a neighborhood commercial center in this specific location to cater the growing needs of the specific community in that specific location. It will provide a convenient shopping alternative to this neighborhood. And again, like I said, right, we wanted to bring in the right composition of businesses into the specific retail space, serving the consumer service needs of that specific community, right? And we also basically looked at the businesses in this specific surroundings, and based on our evaluation, I think from this specific location to the closest restaurant, there is about 3 to 5 mile round trip that you basically have to take. And so as for the national coffee brand that we are envisioning to keep, so 3 to 5 miles where you want to basically get a coffee there, and the hair and nail salon is of the same type, as well as the fast food restaurant as well. So fundamentally, I think there is a requirement or a need that would basically going to enhance the experience, the shopping experience, or the retail, or the experience of the consumer service need at this specific location. So therefore, why we think that it make more sense to have a retail space at this location. Moving on to the next slide, this is more about the use by special review application. I mean, like I said, the UBSR application was proposed for 310-foot-long drive-through lane and at the Parker Homestead multi-tenant commercial building in the Lot 2. And the Lot 2 is of size 2.32 acres, located at the corner of Chambers Road and Double Angel. It's a multi-tenant commercial building containing 17,025 square feet of retail space. The site plan for Lot 2 includes, like I said, there is a drive-through lane, and basically it is sufficing the requirement for the coffee house that we were envisioning to create there in one of the end caps. The drive-through entrance lane is located quite opposite to the building from the coffee house. And it also basically accommodates a maximum of 11 vehicles to queue into this specific 310-foot-long lane. And again, it complies with the Parker Homestead Development Guide, both on the permitted usage here for the special review, as well as the 2035 master plan to have the neighborhood commercial center into that space. And in terms of criteria and justifications, right, is it going to be compatible with the character of the surrounding area and the neighborhood? Obviously, yes. The basic involvement of professional and experienced firms in the design process is going to help in bringing in that compatibility and not basically going to disrupt any situations in the surrounding areas, right? And these firms that we actually involved has a very proven track record working with Town of Parker. And they have a strategic placement of this drive-through lane behind the building for a minimal obstruction of the overall the retail space and the traffic flow, right? Like I said, again, there is ample queuing lane, which is about close to 310 feet, ensuring there is efficient traffic flow that is basically occurring into this specific space, right? Is it going to be consistent with the Town of Parker? As I said multiple times, yes, it is consistent with the requirements the town master plan, especially the plan contains multi-tenant commercial building of 17,025 square feet, and the uses are consistent with Parker 2035 master plan, which is updated on December 3rd, 2018, which is basically designates with the commercial site as a neighborhood commercial center, right? So we are complying with that. And then moving on to the next slide, will it result in over-intensive use of land? Based on the placement and the structure and the site plan that we have, we feel like it is not going to over-intense our use of land. And I have the breakdown of how the actual building and all of the other things are basically laid out. The total building size of 17,000 square feet is only occupying 16.85% of it. And then we have a roadway of 3,146 square feet. And the parking area, we're talking about 37,376 square feet. Sidewalks are 7,799. Landscaping is about 20,000. So majority of the things that you're seeing here, they're 100% in compliance with the requirements of Town of Parker. And this was reviewed multiple times. We went back and forth on addressing each and every comment that we received, and we are very accommodative, and we are very, very supportive in terms of fulfilling all of the needs of the Town of Parker. So far, everything, that's how we are basically moving forward on this whole thing. The next item here is about traffic congestion and traffic hazards, right? This is it going to basically create a hazardous situation here, or is it going to create a congestion situation? Obviously not. We basically conducted a detailed traffic study with a company called David Evans and Associates. This was done on September 14th, 2023, right? And the report is available for review in case if it is required. We can forward that review as well. But at the same time, multiple mitigations have been taken to support the free traffic flow, right? If you look at the whole site here, we have an entrance from Chambers Road, and we have two different entrances from the Double-Angel Road, which is basically trying to help mitigate the traffic flow, and it basically supports the right level of service with the projected land usage, right? At the same time, 95th percentile intersection queuing analysis complies with the Parker Homestead traffic impact analysis as well. So the site plan designs of the coffee shop is adequate to basically store the estimated queue length. Like I said, it is going to help support up to maximum of 11 vehicles at the same time, and this is going to occur mostly in the AM peak hours. And the next criteria here is will not require a level of community facilities and service greater than that which is available. So the drive-through lane does not require a level of community facilities and the service greater than that which is available, basically. Oops, am I missing something? And moving on to, oh. I'm sorry. Yeah. Next. That is all you got? That's all I got. So I mean, some of the other criteria are missing on that presentation somehow. But the rest of the criteria that we have is it going to create significant air, water, or noise pollution? The drive-through lane is designed in such a way not to basically significantly impact the air or water quality. The noise mitigation measures are in place because the slow speed traffic, drive-through vehicles, we are basically expecting a lot of noise mitigation there. Again, the residential neighborhood is located 400 feet away from 400 feet away to mitigate the low-level noises. And also, the future commercial buildings that are going to come in Lot 3 and Lot 4 will going to also act as a barrier between the driving lane as well as the near neighborhood, right? And then the next criteria that I want to talk about is, do we have the adequate landscaping or the buffer and it is screened? Of course it is. There is a discharge drive in between that basically separates the drive-through lane and then the buildings and on the new commercial buildings that are going to come in Lot 3 and Lot 4. So there is adequate landscaping treatment, including trees and bushes, are basically in placement, and we comply with the requirements that Town of Parker is insisting us to do. So we basically added all of that. And then the next one and the last one I have here is about the health, safety, or welfare of the present or the future inhabitants of the town, right? So we are not going to compromise any of those things. It is designed by professional architects, professional site planner, both firms. They have extensive experience, and they have a very good track record of designing this whole thing in the right way. And we also have 100%, at least so far, everything that we submitted to the Town of Parker, we are very diligently responding with their comments and accommodating all of these requirements. So I personally see that there isn't going to be any risk for healthy, safety, or welfare stuff. That's all I got.
All right.
Thank you.
Questions for the applicant? No. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Julia? No? Okay. As this is a public hearing, we will offer an opportunity for members of the community who wish to comment on this issue that's before it to come forward. So if you have a comment on this particular item, please step forward to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, we will close the public comment portion. Any further questions?
None from me, thank you.
Okay. Then we will close the public hearing at 7:24. Commissioner discussion?
So I'm in support. I think this does align with the master plan, and I think this is a good use for this site. I guess for those reasons, it meets the criteria, it appears, and I'm in support.
I'm also as well in support.
I'm also in support. Like Eric mentioned, it aligns with the master plan. I think a lot has been done to mitigate some of those concerns as far as like sound goes, so it's great to see that those criteria have been addressed.
Yeah, I'm also in support of it. I see a real need for that neighborhood and for that drive-through lane. The only thought that came to my mind was, is there going to be an entrance on the backside of the building for employees to come in and out, or do employees come in through the front?
Technically, we should have asked that before.
Yeah, no, it just popped in my mind.
Any
Bryce?
So we can make sure that's noted in our review of the site plan.
Sorry about that.
No
It
worries.
just popped in.
Yep, all right. And I'm certainly in support as well. That's a need for that community, as was pointed out. And so do we have a motion?
I move Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the Parker Homestead use by special review to allow for a drive-through subject to the 2 conditions contained in staff report.
Second.
It's been moved by Ileana, seconded by Eric. The Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the Parker Homestead use by special review to allow for a drive-through subject to the 2 conditions contained in the staff's report. And I'll call the question. Ileana?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Eric R.
Aye.
Leland?
Aye.
Chair is aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Next item. Next item is 7B. It's the Civic Center Filing 1 Exemption Plat L1 Parking Garage Site Plan. And we will open the public hearing at 7:26. And Julia, we're yours again.
Before you tonight is the Civic Center Filing 1 Exemption Plat 1 Parking Garage Site Plan. The town is proposing a site plan to build a new parking garage on the 3.745 acre Parker Arts, Cultural and Events Center lot, also known as PACE. The portion proposed for redevelopment is currently used as a surface parking lot serving the PACE Center. The property was part of the original Town of Parker Incorporation. Town Council approved the Civic Center Filing Number 1 Subdivision Exemption Plat and Hines Center Minor Development Plat, First Amendment Subdivision Exemption Plat on July 20th, 2009. These exemption plats ultimately created 2 lots and 1 open space tract to provide, in part, for the financing and construction of the Civic Center facility, and a second lot for parking and future private development. This proposed parking garage is located on the same lot as the existing PACE Center. This is an aerial of the surface parking lot, or it was a second ago. Did you catch?
We just had to glance at it quick.
Do you need, there we are. That's the aerial, and to the right of the aerial is the exemption plat that created the PACE Center lots. On September 6, 2022, the Town and Parker Authority for Reinvestment, PAR, entered into a purchase and sale agreements with Confluence Companies for the sale of 6 parcels, as well as a development agreement outlining conditions and requirements for the development. The development agreement between the town, PAR, and Confluence defines the project's performance deadlines for approvals and construction on each parcel. In this slide, you can see the landscaping and the connection that was also created to the Sulphur Gulch Trail, which provides pedestrian access to both the parking garage and down to the gulch. The proposed garage will provide 296 parking stalls, 9 of which are accessible and 2 of which are van accessible. The project is 4 stories and 48 feet in height. Of the 296 spaces, 10 will be installed with EV chargers and an additional 9 will be EV charger ready. 10 bicycle spaces are also being provided. So for context, the existing PACE Center lots provide 255 parking spaces. The garage provides 296, so that's a net increase of 41 parking spaces. The garage will replace the existing 255 surface parking spaces on PACE lots 2A, 2B, and Lot 1, so all of that parking that you see over by the PACE Center. Pedestrians have direct access from the sidewalk on Pikes Peak Avenue with vehicular access on the east side of the building. The parking area of the garage is naturally ventilated. Site plan applications are typically reviewed and processed administratively. However, pursuant to the Parker Municipal Code, site plan applications for public facilities owned by the town are required to come to public hearing before both the Planning Commission and Town Council. Before I start, this large gray area will be covered with murals, so I wanted to give you that context before I get into the details of the architecture. The project is subject to the Greater Downtown Historic Center guidelines, the development design standards, and the development agreement. The layout of the garage, landscaping, and architecture were all analyzed based on these guidelines. The development agreement has the following requirements for the garage, all of which have been reviewed and satisfied. A minimum of 255 parking spaces. The design of the structure is required to complement the adjacent Pace Center and exterior appearance, including building materials, color scheme, pedestrian access, and treatments of openings in lieu of windows. The incorporation of murals on the planned parking garage and other large, unadorned, and blank walls to create visual interest while activating these areas. So the upper elevation is the western elevation, and that's faces towards the Pace Center. So where you have there's a music park there currently and a back of house surface area for the loading. That area will have a mural on it, but that faces interior to the Pace Center. The architectural design of the garage is consistent with the themes, materials, and architecture of the Pace Center. Entry canopies, varied roof lines, incorporation of metal screening, and different materials meet the standards and guidelines for the development within the Historic Center. Additionally, the Cultural Department, following the approval of the site plan, will commission an artist for the large mural that will encompass the western facade of the building. This mural will be visible from Pine Drive and Pikes Peak Avenue and will help pull the garage and Pace Center together, highlighting the artistic and cultural nature of the venue. Entrances are clearly identified and easily accessible with pedestrian entrances directly onto the sidewalk. Openings have been vertically and horizontally aligned. Vehicular headlights are screened, which prevents light pollution from escaping the building. The building is also designed to break the roof line at certain intervals in order to create visual interest. Vehicular access to the property will be provided along Pikes Peak Avenue at the intersection with Pace Center Drive. Southbound Pace Center Drive currently ends at the intersection of Pikes Peak Avenue at a T intersection. With the development of the garage, Pace Center Drive will be extended south past Pikes Peak Avenue to a drive aisle providing access to the garage. That's highlighted in yellow there. Pikes Peak Avenue and Pace Center Drive are constructed and sufficient to provide adequate access to the site. The garage does not generate additional traffic, but rather provides parking for the surrounding uses. The town has determined that the access point proposed for the garage is sufficient to provide vehicular access to the site. As stated within the Main Street Master Plan, Main Street is the heart and soul of the Parker community, reflecting its character, culture, and heritage. Main Street is identified as the economic, cultural, and social center of the Parker community. The subject property is located within the Old Town area of the master plan. The vision for Old Town is to continue shaping the vital downtown, enriching the community, residents, and visitors alike. The proposed parking garage will replace the existing Pace Center surface parking lot, provide additional parking than what is currently provided today, and open Pace lots 2A and 2B to be available for high-quality mixed-use development that will further activate the east end of Main Street. The proposal to construct a parking garage on the site is a permitted use on the property. Site plan approval is required prior to construction. Review criteria include satisfaction of setbacks, height, parking, landscaping, layout, architecture, all public work engineering requirements, and consistency with the approved development agreement. After careful review and analysis, the staff has determined that the proposed application has satisfied all requirements for a site plan within the town of Parker. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the proposed site plan. That concludes my report. I'm available to answer any questions the commissioners may have, and the applicant, or not we're the applicant, we're here, but Confluence and Crane's teams are also here for a brief presentation.
Okay. Questions for Julia?
Julia, can you go back to the photo, the diagram that showed it next to the Pace Center, please?
This one?
Yeah. When is this expected to be completed or started? Do you know?
So if all goes according to plan, we're hoping to start in September of this year, and approximate construction schedule is about 10 months from now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my only question for now. Okay, thank you.
So I know you mentioned there's 255 odd spots right now across all the lots. For that one that it's currently being placed on, how many spaces are in that little area there?
There's 73.
Out of the 296 stalls, we're only adding 9 accessible spots. Could that look in the future to be increased? Because in this area, I definitely know it's a need.
So ADA regulations are federally mandated based on the number of spots, so that what they're providing is consistent with the federal regulations.
Okay, thank you.
My only question, I am on. So there's murals going up on certain sides. Which one is the Sulphur Gulch? Like if you're on Sulphur Gulch Trail, is that the southwest corner ground view?
So
I think I'm on the next slide.
Sure, but just for context, the top elevation is the south elevation. So if you're walking on the trail, that's what abuts the trail.
There's no murals on that
There's no
side.
murals on that side.
Got it.
And then the bottom elevation is the north elevation, and what they've done here is also incorporate a lot of that, the metal that you see at the Pace Center, so they've replicated that on the entry. And then where you do see a blank facade, on the right-hand side, that's about 100 feet back or so, because the building steps out at the rear end. So that'll also have a mural on it, but I don't have the dimension, but I would say approximately 100 feet back from the sidewalk.
Got it. Yeah, the question was, is there a mural from the Sulphur Gulch? So it sounds like no.
No.
Got it.
Other questions?
I'm good, thank you.
Folks from Confluence want to come up and please state your name and address for the record, and
That's it. Presentation. Thank you. It was brief. My name is Brad Gassman. I'm with Crane Architecture in Denver. And we've had the privilege of working on several projects down here in the neighborhood with Confluence companies, and have also been able to work very closely with the town pulling these together. So I want to thank you for taking the time to take a look at this project with us today. As often is the case when we go after the planner does such a good job of describing the project, it kind of takes our thunder. So I'm going to keep this brief. I'll probably highlight a few things that Julie has already stated, but I think there's a couple of questions that you had that I can kind of shed a little more light on as well. Obviously, you're all familiar with the location. We're just showing the location here adjacent to the Pace lot, or the Pace Center. We have a little site plan here as well. We took all the labels off of it to kind of make it a little clearer to read, but you've got Pace Center to the left, that's the west. Existing detention pond is on the east side to the right. The north is Pikes Peak Avenue. And then the south side is Sulphur Gulch Trail. And the south side there in the site plan, you can see that that's where we have heavier, denser planting from the landscape. So we've got some trees there to help shield the view of the parking garage from the gulch and the adjacent residential properties up the hill too. Julia already went over this, but we have 296 spaces, 10 EV charger stalls. So there's opportunity to charge your car there. There's going to be 10 stalls. And then there's also, It is 9 EV ready. So that means that in the future they can easily be added. So all the infrastructure is in place. They just don't have the actual charger in there yet. So there's nice expandability. And as Julia said, too, the accessibility requirements are federally mandated, and we meet all of those requirements. And 2 of the spaces are van accessible spaces as well. So that allows, if somebody has a larger van that they need to get in there for accessibility purposes, they have that opportunity as well. I was going to highlight kind of 4 major things and that I think are really exciting about the building. Keep it pretty simple. But we really use the Pace Center as kind of our material guide on this. So there was a really strong relationship between the two. The perforated weathering steel is a very important element, so we brought that into the design. It sets up a very clear, distinct entry to the building. I think with parking garages, it's often kind of difficult sometimes to tell where the pedestrian entry is because they're so auto-focused. And I think by taking that element from the Pace Center itself, it really helps to set up that language. The other thing that we have done is use the Pace Center, brick colors and material colors and are matching those so that there's going to be very clear relationship between the two buildings and understanding that when you're going to the Pace Center, this is going to be the place that you go to park. The buildings really will have a strong connection and relationship to one another. The openings, I think, are a really important thing to talk about, and Julia brought that up a little bit. We've got a little section here to the side, but we brought the wall up to a 42-inch height to really try to shield as much visibility of cars and headlights from inside out as much as possible. And then working with staff, the recommendation came that we should add some vertical elements. So we've got 2 steel vertical elements in those openings. And what those do is they start to give a proportion that's more closely related to a typical window, so a window that you would see in the neighborhood. So I think that was a really nice move to kind of bring that sort of scale back into the building. And the last thing is, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but the opportunity for art. So we've got the west side, which is going to be that interior courtyard, and there's a very large area there, very big palette for a lot of fun opportunities from an art standpoint. But then also on the east side of the building, as you're driving up, you'll be able to see that, and there's a couple areas that we've provided those opportunities as well. So I think that's something that is really going to bring a nice scale to it. It helps break the building down and brings a little fun to it. I think it's important to bring those opportunities into this building. So I think that's one of the great opportunities that we have here ahead of us, for us. And that's it. Just keep it really simple, and I'm here to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Questions for the architect?
Elevators? Will these be elevator served?
Yes, there will be an elevator up in the northeast corner. So it'll go straight down to where the pedestrian entry is, and then connect right to the sidewalk.
Perfect. Thank you.
Other question?
None from me, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any further questions for Julia? No? Okay. As this is a public hearing, we'll allow the public to step forward and comment on this matter. If you wish to comment on it, step forward to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing part of that, and commissioner discussion.
I'm in favor of it. It's the biggest complaint you ever hear. There's not enough parking. Make sure you get good signage for the parking, please. Parking available. You may want a little meter thing that says 2 spots, 20 spots, 100 spots. Just a thought. I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, I think, great job on the architectural, the elements, bringing in the Pace Center. I'm in full support too. I think this is a much needed thing. I know we've been talking about it for a really long time. So glad to see this is coming to fruition. So I am in support.
I'm in support as well. Love to see a net gain of overall spaces in the area. It's, parking is difficult, as my fellow commissioners have mentioned. Including the murals, I think is a great idea, providing and really focusing on the art and culture that, the Pace Center provides. So I'm in support.
I'm also in support of it. I'll be seeing it all the time because I live right where you guys are going to be putting it. So I'll be able to view it every day when I walk out on my back patio.
Okay, I'm in support as well. I'm glad to see things moving forward on this project, and this is kind of the first aspect of that, so I'm certainly in support as well. Do we have a motion?
Before we do the motion, I guess a clarifying question. There's a recommended motion that lists the subject to following conditions, and there's quite a few. Is the intent that we read those conditions, or can we reference staff report?
Just reference.
Please reference the staff report.
Thank you.
Don't read them all.
I move the Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the Civic Center F1 exemption plat L1 parking garage site plan, subject to the conditions outlined in staff's report.
I second the motion.
It's been moved by Eric and seconded by Eric that Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the Civic Center Filing 1 exemption plat L1 parking garage site plan subject to the conditions outlined in the staff's report. And I will call the question. Ileana?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Leland?
Aye.
Chair is aye, passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, any items for us, Bryce?
Just a couple quick items. Effective June 30th, congratulations to Eric Rieger. He has been promoted from alternate to regular. We'll welcome Brett Tuller, and I'm sure I'm butchering his last name. He'll be an alternate. And of course, welcome back reappointments. We're glad to have you back. Second item is we have no items for the July 11th agenda, so expect that that will be canceled.
Okay, thank you, Bryce. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Eric, say it.
I'm not going to do it.
Then I
I
guess we're
move-
just going to
I
stay here.
move to adjourn the planning commission meeting for June 27th.
I'll second.
Moved by Eric, seconded by Ileana, that we adjourn. Ileana? Eric?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Leland?
Aye.
Chair is aye. We are adjourned. Good night, all.